I think it's probably improved operational efficiency like 20 to 30%, just because we're able to manage people to a much tighter degree. People and processes, I should say. We're using Fulfil for Sola Wood Flowers. We sell across several channels, have a couple different production facilities, both in Mexico and India, and then kind of do fulfillment internationally. Before moving to Fulfil, we kind of had a classic duct tape solution. We had a separate WMS, separate ERP, separate planning and reordering, replenishment logic. And with Fulfil, we kind of tied all those together. So that's really what we're trying to solve, is like, how do we get everything in one place where it's super easy to use? I think what separated Fulfil was the fact that it's like the ERP side's very strong, but it has equally as strong like a production module, which for us means we have, I think, a 60 to 70 person production team using the production module. So every manufacturing orders stops. We have very granular level on each production worker's output. And then the WMS is also very strong. So like a lot of these ERPs in the modern day stack, their WMS is very weak. Like they're not really meant for large scale batch picking or wave picking. And I would say Fulfil's WMS is, super competitive across the board. We do everything in-house with production and fulfillment. So having a strong WMS and a strong production module was a big benefit. And then the other piece was Fulfil's channel script, which I guess a general summary is kind of basically how the data gets fed from Shopify or wherever your sales channel may be, and small tweaks to that data before it gets fed into your ERP, or in this case, Fulfil. So before using Fulfil, we have we sell flowers online, and we have 70 different colors, and you can choose, 3 different colors. So you have basically unlimited options, and you're kind of stuck against Shopify's native color variances. So before, we had a team of 10 to 12 overseas employees manually transcribing our production orders. Now that's like fully automated with metafields. So in terms of being able to basically manipulate the data in a very automated and scalable fashion from your sales platform to Fulfil, that was a total game changer. I feel like Fulfil is very, very Shopify native. A lot of platforms claim they are Shopify native, but as soon as you run into any kind of nuance, the whole process breaks. So for us, having a one clean place that we can really invest in was great. So we implemented this while we were moving our production facility our production and fulfillment center from Utah to Mexico. So we kind of did both at once. So we were on a very quick timeline, which I think Fulfil reacted to and was happy to help with the timeline, which that's, first of all, not always the case. Like sometimes you're on their timeline, not on your timeline. So that was the biggest thing. And then I think the level of support was well beyond what was expected. I think this is the first time we've ever actually had to, we've ever paid for an implementation fee and felt good about it. So we had a dedicated rep who actually knew what they were doing, who really understand the nuance of the product and also our company. We were in the Basecamp chats. We could ask them, we had I think it was a 60-day period, 90-day period, whatever it was, of almost full-time dedicated attention from this one individual. So very, very streamlined. You definitely didn't feel like you were self-implementing and paying an implementation fee. They were really there to help answer questions. Again, just the live support part was a huge benefit. So very, very smooth. I think we had like the ERP and WMS, we were up and running within 30 days, right? And then the production module based on our decision, we decided to wait a few months on that side. But it was very, very smooth. Like you're definitely not going to get that with NetSuite or some of the other guys in terms of speed. We can see on a very granular level how long each person is spending on a production order or manufacturing order. And we can compare that. So we can say, okay, product A took, employee number 1 took them this long, employee number 2 this long. And we can also see the time between, which I think is sometimes as impactful as the time spent on, is like that lost time. So I think the production module, our biggest win was we were able to identify the employees that weren't up to par. So we were able to work with them to get them up to par faster. And 2, I think we were losing a lot more time between production orders than we really thought. And how do we take that, 2.5 minutes between production order and get it down to 5 seconds? And then more on the front-facing side, we're able to look at kind of product type by product type and make sure our pricing and cost line up with our assumptions. And in many cases, they have not, right? So we had to kind of redirect that. So it really is like a lot of companies work off of time studies. And as much as it's a helpful tool, this is real world data on a consistent basis. So we have very, very granular reporting. I think the main benefit for us was that it's integrated. So there's no, we didn't have to rely on two different data sources, and some of the nuance and trouble that comes with having to manage two different sources. So again, the WMS is very, very good for being an all-in-one kind of solution. I think we've seen a pretty significant improvement in terms of quality, just because the efficiency of being able to process production orders. I think shipping speeds also improved. We do a lot of customization and made-to-order stuff. So we have seen, since onboarding Fulfil, we're much faster in terms of from a day a customer places their order till the order ships. That's a much faster timeline now. Before we were probably in like the 14-day, and we've cut that kind of in half. So most like custom bridal orders are shipping within a week now. And again, a big piece of that is because we had so many manual processes before. So if we had say we ran a sale over a weekend and we would get, I don't know, let's just say 5,000 orders for an easy number. Those all had to be manually gone through, right? And if you have a bunch of manual processes, when you have spikes, it obviously delays the timeline. So now that's all implemented and very seamless. So we've, again, probably cut our shipping speed in half as a whole. And that's largely due to Fulfil. I think the big thing for us is that the ERP and the system itself is like consistently improving. I think if you look at something like NetSuite or even pretty much most technology, it just like doesn't really improve. I feel like Fulfil, when I've met with the team, they're very honest about where they feel like the opportunities are. They're very transparent in terms of how they're prioritizing, and you feel like they're making progress, right, on a consistent basis, which is great. You feel like you're getting more bang for your buck every year as the system continues to improve. We were doing a lot of stuff in terms of previously, like Fair would be a good example, where there wasn't really a clean integration. So we had an employee doing a bunch of manual uploading to fulfillment or reach funds or whatever it may be, returns, that type of stuff, and then kind of copying and paste what they're doing in their ERP and doing it on Fair. So now that's all completely streamlined, and that's across kind of all the sales channels. So that's very, very plug and play, incredibly easy. And again, with the channel script on Shopify, I think that's like a total game changer. So if you're a business that has some nuance or something you're doing online that's not, just selling, 10 t-shirts online, those nuances I think are where, Fulfil really thrives. Implementing a new ERP while moving countries is probably not what you're supposed to do. So I think the fact that we did that speaks a lot to Fulfil. And then we've also launched a second production facility in India, and we've done that with Fulfil. And now that's fully kind of seamless. So now we're able to manage inventory across, our Mexico factory and our India factory, very seamless. We definitely would not have been able to move as quickly or as seamlessly without Fulfil. I really believe in the software, and if you had to bet on, Fulfil versus another ERP, I would definitely bet on Fulfil.